Welcome to Trading Lounge and the US tech stocks. We'll look at the S&P and the NASDAQ as normal, and we won't be putting on any trades until after the election. And also too, on the 7th of November we've got the Fed meeting as well, and there's a very high probability they'll stay in that 450 to 475 range there. There's also obviously the earnings are still pouring out as well. I think on in the next session we have something like 400 odd, and they sort of start to diminish a little bit into the week. So a pretty volatile sort of week. We also noted too that coming up into this area here, as a weekly chart for the S&P, the volume was diminishing, and now we've seen this move down here, because if there's a trend, it can go up on lower volume, but it won't go up for long, because it does need increasing volume to the upside. But with that move to the downside here, just using this charting program here and looking at the SPX here, we can see on the weekly volume that we've got increased volume to the downside. So it'll be interesting to see how that flows, and this is pretty much the same for the futures and the NASDAQ as well. To a point, there's variations, of course, and I won't go through all of those at the moment. But so we don't have any sort of bullish volume on side as yet. Okay, so today's really just a bit of an exercise in looking around at the markets and just trying to figure out what's what, really. And like I said, we'll just wait for after the elections, and I think the Fed's on the 7th of November, the Fed's comments there will be, I don't think there'll be any change really. They'll still stay in that, any major change anyway, So we've been working on two counts, so we've been working on this 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. We could also put this in here as 1 and 2 as well, so we'll have a quick look at that. The other one is that looking for all of this move to the upside here as a 5-wave move to the upside. Now there's, in this count here, there's two ways that we could view this as well. One of them is that we're at this low here, so if we look at this as 1, 2, 3, 4 here, so we can be at wave 4 here on this low here, and then going up for wave 5. There's also the the possibility of having a top in here. So this count here has got two counts, and this one here is still active. So if we go to this one here first and just look at that and look at to what point we can continually look to use it here. So from wave 4 here is 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. We understand that these 1s and 2s don't normally sort of play out, and the volume's not really in the right place for this particular count, but I'm a bit stubborn. I'm not a perma bull, but or bear. I just like to try to stay with the evidence until proven otherwise. And I don't want to turn bearish because I don't have a nice clean 5-wave move down here. Now I know that some of the markets, the NASDAQ for example, hasn't taken this top out here. The NASDAQ and the XLK and the triple Q and all of those, and the semiconductors and so on and so on, they haven't taken out this top here. They've moved up here and they're sort of rolling over here. So for those markets, one could consider them, or some of them, as an ABC pattern coming into play here. And it's kind of interesting in the markets, you don't have to take one count through to the rest of them, because if we just imagine for a moment, like the S&P has taken out the top here, and yeah, it could still be a B wave, but when markets move up like this and say take out a previous high here, and then another one comes in here, and it can't take the high out, can't take this high out here, and this one's turning down and this one's turning down. So this one here can make a low as a as an ABC, and this one here could just have an ABC here, and then they could move up again. So they'll be out of sync a little bit, but they'll be in the same pattern. So those sort of things, bringing them, the count doesn't matter too much. It's nice to have them all in in sync, and they will be in sync in terms of their intraday moves. So I like to sort of have a good look at the stocks and try to figure out, well, how do those stocks relate to, to this count here. So these counts. So this is one count here. Now, obviously, what would happen here if this low here was breached, or very close to it, sort of, so to speak, then we could eliminate this this count. Okay, so that would be that. And the other count here is basically looking at those 5 waves up, and this is also a daily chart, looking at them as wave 4 here with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then having a move down here deeper would help complete some of those markets like SOX, the semiconductors and so on. So this is a valid count, and there are counts like this that we can play in the markets, like with Apple, and we could probably drag a few others into this count here as well. So I just really want to see how it's playing out. With a wave 2 here, though, I always like to see, it's not totally 100% necessary, but I do like to see a 5 wave structure here. So it's very difficult for me to count this one here as 5 waves here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. So it's a bit difficult to count that as 5 waves. That's the only reason I don't have a lot of sort of faith in this particular move. But at the same time, we'll keep it there and we'll just keep working through it. There's no need to do anything just yet. Obviously, in a couple of sessions, we're going in a session, maybe later in the afternoon or something, maybe we make a little low here and then we start pushing up for this B wave here. That would be about the right timing. But also too, when it pushes up here, we can also have the situation where it pushes up here further. So that's what I want to talk about now. So in this wave 1 count here, we've got wave 1 here, and we can put wave 1 over here as well. And then we would have the wave 2 over here for this. And there are, there's stocks that there's more stocks that would sort of look at this particular picture here rather than this one, but this one is is doable as well. But there's more stocks saying that we should push up again here, have wave 1 and then have wave 2. So there's a fair bit to take on here. So there's basically 3 different counts, and then there's the bullish count, the bearish count as well. Looking at this as a big B wave up here, it doesn't really sort of suit it at this point, but I can see it with some other markets. Okay, so coming back over to this area here, we can look at this move up here a little bit differently. So if we look at it in terms of this here, looking at this here as a wave 1 up here with an ABC. So what happens here is we may make another low here, but we're looking for this, and this here, and then pushing up. The thing is that I know a lot of people are bearish, but the reality is that we're in some sort of uptrend here, but we're in a corrective move here. So it's really just sort of, well, when you've got things like the elections and a whole lot of earnings coming out today, and facing the Feds on the 7th and all the rest of it, it's a good time and we've got a variety of counts. And the reason I'm giving a variety of the counts is just for educational purpose, because I said that we're not going to be looking for any trades until after the elections. We want the dust to settle and the natural flow of things being back on track at that point, and being bearish or being bullish, whatever it is, we'll be there with it. Yeah, so that's kind of it really. So we want to have a bit of a look at this here now. So if we just tuck into here into the 1000 tick area, so we're sort of really drilling in here. So one of the things up here, as I mentioned, this is the top thing up here, I don't really get a nice 5 waves down here. That's the thing here. Yeah, it's just a bit overlappy, that's all. And some of this could be counted a little bit differently as well here. I've got this as an ABC here. for the A wave, and then the B, C, D, and E here. I kind of like that. I could put the B wave over here, and there is a case for putting just educational purposes, putting wave 1 here and an ABC back for wave 2 here, and then looking this down here further. When we spoke on Friday, we're in here somewhere and we're looking for a bit of a rally. It's pulled back up a little bit high, that I like it. And I also understand too, just to move things around a little bit, I also understand this is doable at this point here, and putting this here and this here and this here. But even if I did that, I still got this possibility having wave 1 here as well with a wave 2 here, and then this would be the 3, 4, 5 here. So I think all in all, there's 2 ways that we could play this out here. Is that first of all, we can come down to finish that off, and secondly, we could take this top out here. So if we took this top out here, there's some stocks that can go up from this point. So if it took this top out here, then I'm not calling a trade in, but that would be kind of positive at that point. There, obviously the 5/8 is going to be a bit of a glass ceiling at this particular point in terms of resistance. So yeah, obviously all this will come to pass and we'll be able to resolve some of this, but this would be the sort of primary count with a wave 4 here, and the reason for that is because of where stocks are, and not just tech stocks. We talked about banks. If I can just bring Morgan's across here, because it's what we used last time as well here, and I'll just clean this up here a bit. So basically we could see here as 1, 2, 3, 4 here. Now where you put wave 4 over here, if this is going to drop back down here a bit, I haven't actually internally pulled that apart. But and I said we could also put wave 5 on here, but it's a little bit small. So look, I'm just saying that there are a lot of stocks that we could look for a wave 5 and then have the ABC pattern. Okay, so that's why I'm thinking that there's wave 4 there. So I know it looks a little bit weird, but I'm not on this one. I'm giving you a picture here that makes sense, so you can agree with me. But there are other counts, available, but we're just not ready to move on anything yet. So that's the S&P, and then we come over to the NASDAQ, and as just wanted to look at the weekly chart here. I won't look at the volume because it's pretty much like the S&P, but the triple Q and the XLK and other weaker markets haven't even risen this high to this top here. The S&P took that out. So in this case, there's a good case in a lot of semiconductors and that we've got an A and a B and a C here, and they could make a new low here. So you get these ones here that, well, do we drag this into the NASDAQ, into the S&P count? Do we drag it into the semiconductor count? All of those sort of things, So this is also needs working as well here for this. So yeah, let's just go in and have a look at a couple of different counts. We can spend more time on this with the indices. So if I just go straight up, then this would be, well, last time we spoke, we were looking at this as wave 1 here with an A and a B and a C wave. So wave 2 is already in play there. Or we can look, just to make it sort of simple here, we can look at it with the wave 4 here, the same as the S&P, and looking for one more move to the upside, then an ABC pattern here. So yeah, I won't go into the intraday here and toil with this, because we're not looking for any sort of trades there, but we're just sort of, we don't have any answers yet. We're just sort of looking at everything, and I'd imagine as once we get past the Feds on the 7th and the earnings start to diminish into the end of the week, and we'll know where the elections are, well, then we'll have something to work with, So that's what I'll look at. That's what we'll work with. Okay, so coming over to Apple, and Apple's one that we can look at with wave 1 up here, and coming back for wave 2. So let's just go into the intraday here for this. So I don't have a bullish setup here for this just yet. So Yeah, I mean that should actually go to here. I could actually put the B wave over here and have this as an A, B, C over here for this as well. So there's different ways to count this. I like to check different charting programs and after hours activity and those sort of things, but it still leaves me with this as the top here, and that gives me 3 waves up there. I could look at it as 5 waves up there as a truncated and probably move that across over here, but I do have 1, 2, 3, 4 here and 5 here, so I kind of, yeah, a bit Arthur Martha about this one here. So I just thought I'd go for the A, the B, and this stage 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 5 to come down here to finish this off here. So I'm not quite sure about this, but it doesn't really matter because at the end of the day we're not going to do anything here, and at some point, and this could even come higher here, you know, some other sort of pattern could come into play here. It doesn't matter, we're not going to do anything here. When we see 5 waves moving up here, then we'll look for the ABC and then we'll go long. It'll be simple as that. Okay, so nothing to do, don't get trapped in this. I mean, if you're long in this already, that's fine, you know, just don't have a stop there, you know. Okay, so moving on to Amazon, and Amazon here. So we're looking at this wave 1 up here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 here now, and going up for wave 5 to move up here. We'll have a bit of a look at this in here, but yeah, I think that counts quite nicely now as that. So it was nice to see it make a new high into that 200, and obviously you don't go buying stuff at 200, you know, because obviously, you know, that's where a lot of bigger orders come in. So where do we want to go from here? We want to normally go to the 1000, so we'll just have a look at this here. So from this wave 4 here, we're going to look at it as 1 and 2 here and 3 and 4. It does get a bit sort of you know, a little bit weird in here. We've always had this as wave 1 here with an ABC for wave 2 here because we've got a nice 5 waves here. I mean, you could put this over here, but yeah, kind of get 5 waves here on this as well. Then we've got this, all of this here. So I was thinking of 1 and 2 here and 3, 4, 5 for the 3rd wave, the 4th wave and the 5th wave here to get that top in play there. Could I do this in some other way and put wave 2 over here and look at this as wave 3 here or something? I can see there's a couple of different ways to do it, but I chose to do the long, rather than putting the top in on the next move up to the top here. I decided to do another one here, just in case we do get this other one here, and it'll stop you shorting it and doing other weird things at that point. So it'll just, that this extra wave 4 here that may or may not be there will just buy us a little bit of time as well. We'll just see how that plays out. But yeah, look, I must say this is another case for, you know, to get to this wave 1 here, you know, and Amazon is, you know, it's a big steady, you know, it's Amazon, you know, it's tying up the consumer sales, so it's pretty solid. And we come over to Nvidia, and with Nvidia here we've got a slightly different count, but 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and going up for 5 here. So I'll just go into the 1000 ticks and look at it like this. So we're looking for an ABC pattern. Now the aftermarket, which is not on this chart here, put this here, put a move up here into, look, I think it was 139, but just double check on that. So we're looking for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this looks like, to me, this could be one of the first ones that we could go long on here. If we can get the, if this pattern finishes off here, we can go long above that wave B here as an A and a B and a C here. So we'll just see how that sort of plays out with a little classic trading levels pattern across this level here as well. So yeah, I think the aftermarket's up at 138, 139 in here. So we'll see, just see how that plays out. So this could be one of our first long trades coming out of the elections. And then we come over to Meta platforms. So just the daily chart here, and yeah, I'm not really sure, you know, I mean, this in here it looks like we could put wave 1 here, and you know, like with Apple, and that we could line it up with Apple and go that way with it. But this particular little move to the top here doesn't really count very nicely as 5 waves. And secondly, it's just a bit of a spike, So I'm thinking, because I've had wave 4 here, but I'm thinking I might need to put wave 4 over here and look at this in a little bit more complicated way. So I'm not quite sure the best way to look at this. It will come to pass. It will clean up and become a little bit obvious. So I was thinking, these can come over here. So I was thinking that this wave 4 may need to come over to this point here for this wave 4 here. So that's the extra little spike here. So I think that we're still in a wave 4 here, and we may make another little low here or may not, but we'll push up to there and then we'll have our ABC. I think that's about right. If I take that in further and go into the 100 area here, this is it here with this wave 3 over here. So first of all, I don't see a nice 5 wave structure up here for this. If I have to include that, I can't do spike. And you can see the spike, it just sort of opened and dropped, you know what I mean? So it came back and stayed in the main traffic. So when they do that, I don't pay a lot of attention to them, but you can use them to create a count, because in reality, it happened somewhere. So a little bit unsure, just don't get that nice 5 wave structure up here. And as a high here, using this top here as a high, as a spot, just a one, probably, hardly any trades up there on that at all. So yeah, and I can get a nice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here for the A wave, and nice B wave, and this, because this came so high here to the old high here, it means that it won't go very far here. So the low could already be in here. I could put this in here for this, but I won't do that because I don't want to call a low in and make people buy it, and it pops and turns and those sort of things, so I'm not quite sure, but I'm thinking we're quite close to a low here, so we'll gather a little bit more information. This counts 5 waves to here, and this would be 1 and 2 here, and then this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the third, an A and a B and a C here, because I'm thinking a little spike here, a little B wave in here. That's how I got to here anyway, because there's 5 waves here for this. But yeah, not quite sure how that's going to finish off just yet. And Netflix, we've been working a triangle pattern for wave 3 once again. So an A, B, C, D, and E here. It seems to have played out. We were looking for a move down here last time we spoke. So we've got that, and now we've got this move to the upside here. So on this here, 3, 4, 5, you could probably do it at above the 60 at this point. But I'm just going to wait on all of that, and this should find support here shortly, 50-60% retracement level there for that. And then we come over to Google. So with Google here, I can count that as 5 waves down here and put an A wave here, and we can put an ABC pattern over here. It came up a bit high above the 61.8%, but it's not a big deal. In most cases around the world, we've always looked at this here as an ABC pattern here, So that's probably the case here, because that's what we've done with the S&P and all the others. But like I said, with the semiconductors and some of those markets, if you have a look at those, you can see that they can make new lows here to have an ABC pattern here. So I've got to keep a bit of an eye on this. So I'm a bit torn between being bullish and bearish on this. So I just need to wait for some intraday movements, and if I tied it in with the rest of the markets, it would be basically 1 and 2 either to here or to here, and 3, 4, and 5 here, and then we come back, and this would be wave 1 up here and wave 2 here. So I try not to let my opinions get in the way of gathering evidence and working it, so I see the markets as generally bullish, and I can see that this does have a bearish pattern here, but we'll just see. It'll play out here. That bullish pattern will be You just see, probably got it here. Yeah, it will be here somewhere. So still look for that wave 5 up here. And there's a very good case to count that down as 5 waves here, by the way, as well. So just don't go doing anything here just yet, because we could just get a rally here and then come down again at this point. So just be very careful about this. We're not going to move on it. You can count that quite easily as 5 waves. But otherwise it's an A wave to here, a B wave and a C wave here. So we're just going to wait on this. And then we come over to Microsoft, which also has a very nice sort of bearish case. But if those other markets are going to push up, it's a bit difficult to see this one here. So yeah, I mean, we've got little 5 waves here. So, I mean, these are all like 5 waves. So it's the bearish thing here would be an ABC for the A wave, a B wave, and a C wave here for this B wave. And that means we'd have 5 waves down here of 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 5 down here for this wave 4. But I'm really reluctant to put this wave 4 over here because it'll just throw the timing out, you know, in a pretty big way, you know, but we see that with the banks, you know, we see that with BAC, you know, it had a low, you know, so it cycles a year out from some of the other banks, you know. The other way is to try to sort of squash, you know, some sort of wave, you know, wave 1 into this point here and have it as an ABC for wave 2 here. So I've got these 2 here that I'm not quite sure about just yet. So you can't go short here. We can't go long because, you know, we're going to get a bounce off the 400 here anyway, you know. So nothing to do in this. So I'm not going to go into the intraday on that. And then Tesla, we can look at Tesla in also a variety of ways as well. But I like the idea of having this is a wave 4 here with a one more move to the upside. Will it reach all the way up to 300? Don't know. But that would also give us this wave 1 over here and then coming back for wave 2 here. So that would play in with the rest of the markets. You could get to the same place in a different way as well. You know, you could look at all of this here as some sort of A, B, C, D, and E here for a triangle pattern here and then moving up for wave 1 as well. But either way, I don't want to do anything in here just yet. I'm not. We can go to the intraday. I think we're on the 1,000 tick in here somewhere, weren't we? I didn't update this, but we're looking for that wave 4. So we're on track for that. We don't want to do anything with that. Oh, it looks like we've got an extra little move here. What if that gives me 5 waves down? I'll double check on that. But I'm going to double check that. I won't burn up your time, but yeah, we'll just see how it plays out at this point. And you know, and it may not get to the, you know, it may not get to the 300 up here either. So don't get too excited about all of this. You know, I've got to figure this out here just in case we got 5 waves down. We may end up getting some sort of A wave, B wave, and C wave down here a bit further with this wave 4. So I've got to pull apart that. I don't want to burn up your time. So then we come to Bitcoin. So it was kind of like the NASDAQ and the S&P. In fact, it's more like the NASDAQ because it hasn't taken out the top over here, you know. The S&P has taken out the top here. This is basically just reached all-time highs here now. I didn't breach them. I think it was a couple of points short. But anyway, what I want to say here is we've got, in the bigger picture, a weekly chart here, we've got 2 counts. This count here is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 up here for wave 1 and back for wave 2. Okay. There is another way to count this up here, which gives us an extra thing, which is actually having this one down here on wave 1 here. So this will give us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for 1 and 2 here. So we'll just go in and have a look at that first. Just because it's the beginning of the week, we can just have a quick look at that scenario. So let me just get in a little bit more data. So in this case, we've got blue 1 and 2, and 1 and 2, 1 and 2, and 3, 4, 5 up there. So what it does, when we get to this wave 1 up here, it gives us this extra from this wave 4. We go up to wave 5 for 3, 4, and 5. So we could also do this with the NASDAQ as well, by the way, get that extra leg in there. How we count this up here is exactly the same problems that we have with the S&P and the NASDAQ. We can go 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, all that sort of stuff, which is probably not the case. So we can look at this in different ways. I'm just trying to think where I've put the other counts, just so bear with me a second. I'll just check. Okay, so this is, I won't go into a long story, but this is basically the same count as the S&P and the NASDAQ. Okay, so in this case, we also got this wave 4 here. So 1 and 2, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the third, the fourth, and the fifth, and then the ABC pattern. So I think I'll just leave it at that at this stage. I won't go into the intraday here. I don't want to make the video any longer than it is. And like I said, I don't want to be calling any trades in coming into all these events that are going on at the moment. So obviously there's volatility, and that's what you trade the markets for. But it's news trading is is a strategy, and you need all your tactics in place, and you need whatever you need to do that job properly. And it's something that I don't trade news, nothing wrong with that. So for me, in my style, I have to wait for the dust to settle. So I'll leave it at that. Alrighty, thank you.